interesting. Every nation is going to be looking closely. It's good for Bitcoin, and it's also good for El Salvador. It's risky at the same time, but I think overall, it's about adoption, and this is one of the best adoption that Bitcoin has ever gotten until now.
On what basis are you saying that other countries will do it? We have not, I think barring Peru, we've not seen that kind of commentary. You may want that kind of commentary, but it hasn't come.
It's a lot like how startups operate. If you think about the incumbents, the large companies out there, they always stay cautious, and that is what most of the nations around the world are doing. They're staying cautious to anything new and disruptive. And the startups, the smaller countries that I see, they'll always be the ones that are going to take these risks. So El Salvador happens to be one of those many smaller nations which probably have an edge out here to try and see how Bitcoin would operate if they were to adopt it as a legal tender. Now, only time will tell. The other important thing to understand about Bitcoin as a legal tender in any nation is it's going to be a deflationary asset that is considered as a currency. Now, that is going to be very interesting because most times fiat is all inflationary. So I think that we are having sort of a double experiment. One is what happens when you, sort of adopt a legal tender that is not under the control of any nation. Because we have to understand that El Salvador currently has US dollar, which is basically an inflationary fiat being printed by the US. Out here, they have the opportunity to adopt something that is not under the control of any country. And I'm sure that every country would want to see how this experiment goes. And if it goes in the right direction, then I won't be surprised if other nations also adopt it.
Okay. And is that the real test, what you're pointing out from deflationary and inflationary perspective? A, of course, has to be the citizens who will, the president has added 400 Bitcoins to the treasury, is talking about the wallet, El Salvador's wallet being made public and all of that. But the citizens also have to accept it. They have to be willing to transact in Bitcoins. And just the way the Bitcoin is, we today saying is volatile, but even at $50,000, it is very expensive.
Yeah, look, I think it's definitely volatile, and that's probably one of the major concerns that everyone will be closely watching. Will it sort of stabilize? The talk about the citizens. Fun fact, I just read that their wallet, apparently the servers crashed because of the number of people who wanted to. There was a rush for people to download the wallet, and apparently it's been taken offline for a while till they increase the capacity. So it definitely shows there is initial huge interest in the nation on trying this out. And I think the other important thing is, sort of this whole 50,000 range that Bitcoin is at, and that's been crucial. If it can hold on to that and increase from here, I think people in the nation will be glad that they participated in Bitcoin as one of the legal tenders over there. But yeah, I think only time will say if this is going to go in the right direction. But I think adoption, there is definitely a lot of challenges for adoption. The biggest being, how do you ensure, because Bitcoin, this is a lot like having cash with you, how do you ensure the safety and security and all of that? It's definitely going to be a big challenge in terms of implementation in the country.
So now you have the server crashing on day one, which, okay, it does happen, but it's also happening on a day where you're seeing a lot of volatility. For example, the Bitcoin, which looked like was going to, retest 53,000, go beyond that, is now retesting $50,000 levels. The altcoins today are also suddenly spooked and losing out a lot. This kind of a volatility spike, Nischal, I know you tried to address it, but this is what's going to make citizens, investors even more wary.
Yeah, absolutely. See, we cannot deny the volatility is way more compared to, let's say, other asset class like gold. So there is definitely going to be jitters. And this is probably one of the biggest tests. Will volatility be in the range which is comfortable to the citizens of that country? I think that is what we'll have to see over time. I'm sure in the short term, there will be some shocks and some worries from people. But I'm guessing in a longer term period, it will subside because as the adoption grows, the volatility seems to reduce. This has been happening to Bitcoin in the last 10 years. So, only time will tell though.
volatility is part of the game. It's certainly not for the faint-hearted. Now, what's also very crucial to note is that because it's a legal tender, you can buy goods and services with it, whether it's a cup of coffee, a car, or even want to pay your taxes. What the El Salvador government has also said is that for an initial boost, the Bitcoin wallet called Chivo will come preloaded with $30 worth of currency for users that register with a Salvadorian national ID number. Nischal, $50,000 of one Bitcoin is going to be fractionalized to $30. How is this going to work? Because it'll have to be taken along with fiat currency, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I think there's this term called airdrop, and this is what is happening there. A country is airdropping Bitcoin to its citizens just so that they can experiment and try it out. And I think for quite some time, it might remain that an experiment in that nation where people are probably going to test it out, try it out, and the government is just bootstrapping this whole thing. So I don't see adoption happening immediately. I think what is going to happen is the adoption of just the wallet, and for that to happen, this airdrop of $30 is going to be crucial because that will motivate people to try it out. And it's a good way because that way people don't lose their money. They can just test it out and they can experience it. And I think eventually, if that is the right way for you, then you can top it up and load more Bitcoin. And fractionalized Bitcoin is how, that's the whole thing. It doesn't matter how expensive Bitcoin gets. You can just buy a small piece of it and keep it with you.
Okay, let's see how all of this goes. We've read about the ATMs that will work with Bitcoin that are going to be put across the country. They're airdropping $30 worth of Bitcoins to those that actually register. We've also heard about how $150 million fund at a state-run bank will be backing all of these transactions. Nischal Shetty, it's always a pleasure talking to you. Thanks so much for joining us live on Startup Central. And with that, we're going to take a short commercial break. Stay tuned. Coming up on